Life's a loose cannon as the cameras roll. All the world's a suffering nest, aching souls. Mr. No keeps a chain in his greying clothes. Out here at the edge of the fire, planning to shame, planning to blame, it's all true. I said planning to pain all this tiresome game, lived out by you, lived out by you.
Hello, and welcome to the School of Enlightened Selfishness and to the third part of our questions of transformation. And the question today is, what is happening? Well, what is happening? I think that the great pejorative on that, or the corruption of that, is the corruption of Lao Tzu's shit happens. Well, things do happen, indeed they do. But this what is happening is one of those extraordinary, truly extraordinary questions. It's not what to do. It isn't. It has nothing to do with doing. And it has everything to do with seeing. Let's go back in our story, the story of the proper development, the correct development of a nine-centered being. We begin with aware parents. We begin with aware parents that nurture their child correctly, that introduce their child to what is the correct way for them to be treated in this life, treated according to their nature, according to their design. That they are given an opportunity to discover for themselves the strategy and authority that in essence is going to be the theme of their life, because it provides them with the answer to the first question: who is in charge? I am in charge. I live by my own authority. And in that development, in the first Saturn cycle, the development of that being, a being that operates through its own inner authority, we get to that moment, that is, we get to the beginning of the Saturn to the Chiron phase, where that being is able to then begin their process of developing their unique life story. And in developing that unique life story, not simply the story itself, but the cognitive potential that is rooted in it. Everything about us as nine-centered beings is that we are being groomed for cognitive display, what is referred to in design as outer authority. Outer authority. Outer authority is this pure expression of unique awareness. Unique awareness. It is something that is part of, in essence, this entire journey. It is the holy grail, if you will, of this journey, that unique awareness. And when you begin that Saturn to Chiron process, as you're moving through that process, you're beginning to take on the full characteristics of what's possible for you as a being. The characteristics that are there in your role, that are there in your incarnation cross, that is there in your profile, that is there in your design. All of which, if added up and dissected downward, allows us to see a pure and differentiated force that is ready to flower. So interesting about the nine-centered life. The nine-centered life, basically, it says the time for you to mate and the time for you to have children is between the age of 30 and 51. This is the time to do that. And it also says that the time to move forward in the flowering of your own unique process is post-Chironian. We have a different life program. We're not Saturnian anymore, where the peak of our process in life takes place when we're teenagers. We're very different beings. And we're beings that are encased in these nine-centered Uranian vehicles that really are good for a very long time if they're treated well. This post-Chiron phase, beyond the Chiron return, which takes place for most people either at the age of 50 or 51, this is something that opens up into a huge space of time. But it isn't about doing. It can't be about doing because, well, the doing gets done. It's one of those great, great sayings, isn't it? From the Druids, the ancient Druids. do without doing and everything gets done. And people hear that and they try to figure out what that means. This is what the post-Kironian life is. You do without doing and everything gets done. So the only concern that you can have, the only thing that's of any value to you, the only question that is there is, well, what is happening? Not what to do about it. Not what to do in any sense of the word, but what is happening. See, it's one of the most difficult things for a human being to do, is to see. Sounds funny, doesn't it? I mean, it seems like everybody is looking at something, but what exactly are they seeing? See, we have an enormous conflict that takes place within us, those that are not self. There's this enormous conflict. The moment that your mind is running your life, the moment that your mind has to make decisions, it means that the way in which your mind is going to try to organize what you communicate is going to be based on the decisions you want to make or have made. The mind that's so busy working on a defense because something that you didn't work out. The mind that is always preoccupied with what it plans to do or what has been done and the way in which that affects the way in which it communicates to the other. The not-self lies. It lies. It lies to protect its interests. It lies to protect its interests because that is the way in which the old seven-centered strategic program operated. You lie to protect your interests. You don't give away your secrets. You don't give away those things that you think that the other might take advantage of. You don't tell them what you don't think they should know. You decide, you censor, you control. It's your mind. And in that you do not see. You're looking at stuff, And the stuff that you're looking at is being controlled by your conditioning. So you may be that person that has the open emotional system, and your mind is looking for that place where it can avoid confrontation. It's not seeing. It doesn't know how to see. It doesn't know how to see because it is a mind that is not free. Free of being in charge of what it cannot possibly be in charge of. See, I'd love to be able to tell you what happens to you when you get to that point, the post-Kironian point, when you get to this place. But there is no map here. There is no formula here. There isn't. There is the do without doing and everything gets done. That's what's there. You see, look, it is just happening. No matter what you think, no matter what you'd like to do about it, no matter what you hope to do about it, it is just happening. All of it. Whatever it is the way things work. Things happen all the time. And you get caught up in that because your mind has an agenda. Something happens and your mind develops its own unique interpretation of its value relative to you. And in that you act. And so you get lost. You become like everybody else. You see, the question is not so much about being detached, because it sounds like detachment. It's not. It's not. Imagine what it would be like if you were an astronaut, and they put you inside of this spacecraft, and off you go. See, this is what we are. We're passengers in a craft, in a vehicle. Oh yeah, it has all of these interesting components to it. It seems to be different than the mechanisms that we build ourselves. but is a profoundly, deeply biological mechanism. It's a mechanism. It's a package, a very sophisticated package. We are not the package. We are not. You know, this is not a new thought. It's ancient. Anyone by the serendipity of the forces that has had a peek behind the veil knows. See, we are here to see. This is what the package is for. This is what the vehicle is for. The vehicle provides us with a way to experience consciousness, to experience it. It doesn't mean getting lost in the vehicle, which means getting lost in the vehicle's life. This is an illusion. Oh yes, it seems very dense, but it is just that. We are constructed and limited to see it the way we see it. You see, human beings are so deeply identified with these things. You know, in terms of the nature of human design, everything about human design is based on three elements. The crystals of consciousness, the design crystal, the personality crystal, and the magnetic monopole. The magnetic monopole that holds us together in the illusion of our separateness and moves us along our geometry. The magnetic monopole and the design crystal and the personality crystal are not atomic in nature. They're not. They are a matter principle, what physicists call dark matter, but that has no relationship whatsoever to atomics. I want you to think about that for a moment. What you are, you know, the personality crystal that you have, that personality crystal has been in existence about 15 billion years. Every time that personality crystal has had an opportunity to be embedded or endowed in some kind of form, it has had its opportunity for consciousness, for cognition. That personality crystal is in essence what you are, or what the essence of you has been literally forever. And it's not made of this stuff. It's not the identification with this stuff that makes this possible. It isn't. This is something through which we get to experience. It is a tool. It is a tool for consciousness. It may sound quite odd, I know it does. But then again, it is the only way that you can truly get to that place that you understand that this thing here, this is the life. It has its way. It has exactly the mechanisms and the intelligence to move on this form plane if you just let it do so. And watch what happens. The passenger sitting in the back seat of the limo, you know, eyes wide open, great view, comfortable, no pressure. You don't have to worry about whether there's enough fuel or where it's going. You don't have to be concerned about anything other than the experience of seeing. What is happening? How much do you really see in anything? Think about any given situation that you walk into. Watch your mind in that situation. See how you become totally locked into the looking and see nothing, and there's so much to see. And you don't see it. You can't see it. See, this is what life is about. It's not about this scraping and digging and trying to survive. This is old stuff. very unsophisticated. Dog eat dog, Darwinian, grab 'em and kill 'em. We are not here in that sense through the survival of the fittest, because we do not have to attain that. We have a natural right to it. We are an evolutionary delight. If you are raised correctly, if you are nourished correctly, you are fully equipped for survival. Fully equipped for survival, to the point that it is not the point. And it is the point for everyone in this plane. It is the addiction of humanity. And all that clawing and scraping means that there are a few that have much more than most. And no one's a winner in that. And it's not like it has eliminated all that pain and suffering and violence and anger that is there on this plane. It is not what we are here for. It isn't. You see, this place of flowering is a place of seeing, of seeing. It isn't anything else but seeing. There is nothing else to do. There is only the seeing. See, I like to reference all this through my favorite metaphor, the movie. This is entertainment. Truly it is. You see, the moment that you're liberated from your mind having to be responsible for everything that you do, you can begin to see what's happening. What is happening? You see it. There is great beauty in that. Not only that, but the way in which you see is not the way in which I see. I am differentiated. I'm a unique voice. And yours will be unique because what you see is unique. It follows a different line. It follows a different inner structure. It's pointed at something that is uniquely your domain, meant for you to see. And you can only see those things if your life is moving correctly. When you are correct, when the environment is correct, when the whole process of the development of your perspective, your view, your cognition is correct, so that you can just watch the movie and be entertained. Because this is what we are here for. I tell you, this is the best shot we get. These vehicles, what it means to be in a nine-centered vehicle, these interregnum vehicles that give us this selection, this synthesis between the left and the right, the past and the future. Within that lies an enormous wealth of consciousness that belongs to us. You see, the future is moving away from the unique identity. This is the end of the unique identity process. And if you do not claim it now, you will not get it. Because everything is moving in another direction. It is moving away from the possibility of what it is to be one of us, to the possibility of what it might be to be something else that is not like us at all. We are here to see. It is only in that seeing that we fulfill our true promise. I'm a teacher of form principle. And I teach form principle because I am a deeply practical man. It is the form, after all, that has to be looked after in order for the true thing to triumph. The personality crystal. this eternal source of I am. Most human beings do not even have any access to that passenger until they die. Until they die. And if they're lucky enough not to be, buried instantaneously, so at least they have some semblance of bardo, they will suddenly meet their own passenger, because that's all that's left. And they had had a whole life to meet that passenger. You don't have to wait until you die. Rather pointless. And we're not here because of this. We're here because of what experiences this. I serve the form in order to serve the personality consciousness, in order to serve the passenger. If the passenger doesn't have a vehicle that functions properly, it never gets to reveal itself. It never gets to be the experiencer, because the veil of distorted not self mind doesn't make any room for it. Passenger in the back seat with a lot of dirty windows. Absolutely nothing to see. You see, this place, for these beings that are going to be raised correctly, this will not be some sudden shift in their consciousness. They will move into it with grace and with ease, because it is part of a natural life process. It's what it means, this correct development of a nine-centered being. It means that these are not triumphs of, spiritual, mystical proportion. The kinds of things that you get with not-self beings who have some kind of experience for a moment. It's not that. It is a continuity of correctness that leads to its natural expression. The witness consciousness. The witness consciousness and its gift of outer authority to give back in that sense, to share in that sense with others, its perspective, its unique view from its unique seeing. It's not like it is for all of those who are meeting human design now or who have met it in the past. All conditioned beings, all starting a life deeply conditioned, mostly waiting until the middle of one's life before there's even an opportunity to see what has happened to them. There is a different pressure in this process for those of you that began as conditioned beings who have entered into your experiment. It is so important for you to begin to concentrate on watching, on seeing. And you can only do so once you enter into that experiment and you give over that authority to your inner authority, to your vehicle. If you want to find the magic of seeing, you have to begin to watch. You have to begin to free your mind from its ordinary, mundane, meaningless concerns. And it doesn't mean you get rid of them. It doesn't mean you stop thinking those things. You'll think whatever you're designed to think, and you will think whatever you're open to as conditioning. Is that you don't pay any attention to it personally. It's just stuff. You watch. Watch what you think. It's very amusing. I watch what I think. I think it's very funny. This is not what it's about. I have an open head center. Over 70% of humanity has an open head center. We all think about things that don't matter. But it doesn't mean you make them matter and you do something about them. Because your mind is not here to decide. And as long as your mind doesn't decide, you're free to watch the movie. You're free to see the way this machine thinks. It's not you doing the thinking, it's the machine doing the thinking, the brain system. You can watch it. You can watch it. And you can see that the moment you give authority over to your vehicle, that your vehicle will navigate this plane just fine. Thank you very much. Doesn't need the mind jumping in there all the time saying, oh, you know? Doesn't. In the end, it's very simple. You know, like everything else, the truth is always simple. Strategy and authority is a very simple thing. It's about whether it's important, these questions, to you. Do you care who's in charge of your life? Do you? You know? I mean, it is something to think about. Do you have any sense of whether you're in the right place or not? Do you have any idea what is going on around you? You see, these questions, they're at the core of the foundation of awareness. These are questions that you need to answer in one way or another. Only then, when you're in charge, when you know who's in charge, when you know where you belong, then you're ready to grasp what is happening. That's all it's about. It's all it's about. You know, being able to understand the design of a nine-centered being, you know. This is the thing that it's about. The moment you understand these things, the moment you grasp them, this is the moment you have an opportunity to stand back and to take the full advantage of what awareness is, because I tell you, these minds are great. They are great. They are great. Like any other tool, it can be used for good or bad, for right or wrong. It is a great tool for correctness. The mind is brilliant when it is freed from trying to figure out when it needs to do what. Instead of seeing that whatever it needs to do will get done and it just has to watch it happen. Watch it happen. Set yourself free. This is what life is about. The perfection of seeing. Nothing more. Nothing less. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. And I hope you get to see what's happening. And until next time, bye for now.
There goes Mr. No in his black attire, strung out between the word and guitar desires. Out here at the edge of the fire, out here at the edge of the fire.